Hello everybody and welcome to this week's edition of This Ain't Fake Brother. It is the 20th of November 2014 and we have just watched all the Go Home episodes to Survivor Series 94 and the Go Home episode to Survivor Series 2014. So a 20-year perspective with our classic review.
Interestingly, there was more product in the single week leading up to substantially more product in the single week leading up to the Survivor Series 2014 than the 3 weeks leading up to Survivor Series 1994.
Now, is this because one of the Raws that we're going to review has been half it was lost?
Well, no, because even if it was all three shows, it would only be a max of 3 hours, whereas Raw is 3 hours 15 minutes. This was before the overrun, so
that's true. That is true. Okay, so we have that, including all the podcast roundup, and we're going to start off with the news. The first being WWE had their ticket launch party the day we recorded the show last week, and
for WrestleMania, I think
for WrestleMania, yeah, that would help.
Tickets, woo!
And they had a few people there, including Bryan and Barrett and stuff like that. And Bryan was saying he's hoping to be back by Mania, but the report is that there's no plans creative right now for him. They've been told that they don't need to come up with anything for him. Dave Meltzer was there among other people and commented that his arm isn't looking anyway small compared to his other one, really. So that's obviously a good sign. Now, do you think it could be well, you see, the thing is, he may not have strength in it, but there has to be something good there, because he would have lost mass, wouldn't he, if he had no strength?
Yeah, I will say this much though. You often hear Dave Meltzer give opinions on people's sizes, and he's just out to lunch. Like, he'd be like, yeah, I think he looked about 220, 222, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, Dave, you're just making these figures up. You see, you didn't have weighing scales with you.
Yeah, that is true.
You know? Well, yeah, I mean, this is just a long time thing with me when it comes to Dave. He often throws out figures like, Brock looked about 277 on the scales. Like, Dave, you're on crack here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, he does think that he has
yeah, he thinks his eyes are, some sort of weighing scales.
Well, regardless, I guess my question to you is going to be that do you think there is a chance that his arm is slightly better than the people are letting on, and that maybe we could be getting a Cena?
No, I don't think they
2008
care about
Royal Rumble.
They don't care about him at that level, so no.
Yeah, okay.
The fact, what was very telling was when they had the huge yes chance at the San Francisco Giants game, and it was huge national and local news, and they chose not to show any of it on Raw. I mean, imagine if that would have been related to a Triple H or Roman Reigns.
Why do you think that decision was made? Because it's not like they don't still enjoy the yes thing. They're getting Brie to do it still.
It's Stephanie to do it. It's so old. I think they did it just because he's not a priority in their mind. I think he's a vanilla midget who got over Vince begrudgingly the same way as he did it with Rey Mysterio in 2006. Agreed, okay, we'll put the championship on him, but once it's not being forced on him, he wants nothing to do with him.
The other injured party who was at the WrestleMania ticket launch was Wade Barrett. He's 4 to 6 weeks from coming back, so that's good. Obviously, the natural thing would have been him and Dolph, but they're not going to be doing that now because Dolph is no longer the IC champion.
I don't think they would have gone. They wouldn't even be aware he was champion really left the way this company operates.
Do you think that Barrett is going to get a similar push to the one he had before he got injured, or do you see this being very hard for him to get back to being as featured as he was?
He should be okay, but he's always just going to be a guy in the mid card. He's never going to be anything more than that. You
don't think they're ever going to try it with him?
No, and I don't think they should. He's not. He's okay. That's all. He doesn't have a great look.
He does.
He's kind of tall and lean. He's not. But he's just typecast. He's been there for 4 years. He was hot in August 2010. He was ice cold for about 3 years thereafter. He has a comedy mid card gimmick. With this bad news thing, it's fun. It gets over, but it's not anything that's ever going to put you in the main events.
Speaking of main events, the Survivor Series main event got a new stipulation on SmackDown. If you read the spoilers, that being that if Team Cena lose, everybody on Team Cena is going to be fired. So that pretty much telegraphed the finish.
Well, could do, or else the heels win and Vince reverse the decision the next night in Raw, or third possibility is some sort of a non-finish with a debuting heel or a returning heel or something like that.
Yeah, we'll talk about Raw, I suppose, and the main event when we get to it, because I'm kind of confused on what exactly the main event is, whether Cesaro is the sixth man, because the way I saw it was that Cesaro was essentially joining the team as a sixth man. They didn't bring it up on commentary, but I thought this was going to lead into the idea there'll be 6v5 and Randy will come back.
I suppose they could do that, yeah.
That was otherwise, like, what was Cesaro, like, just for a 30-second swerve?
Maybe, yeah. I don't know.
30-second swerve.
It's very weird television.
Okay.
Because especially because when I watched the match with the Ryback, I felt they were trying to build Cesaro up for something. And so then when I saw him, I was like, okay, that makes sense. That's why they gave him so much of the match. And then when he just turned, I was like, oh, so it didn't make sense. Great.
AJ is supposedly on her way out. We kind of, I think, touched on this a few weeks ago. She has her website set up, and she basically, it's come out that if she loses the belt, people think she's going to go. I presume if she wants to go, she'll go when she wants to go. But do you think, do you see her in 2015 in WWE?
Smarter people than I don't think she'll be there, so I would assume she won't be.
Yeah, it's a weird one because she has the belt, and you can talk about how much that really means, or even what the company's opinion of you is if they give you the belt. It used to be a kind of a pat on the back. Now, not so much, especially with the Divas title. But they haven't given her really much promo time at all. She's had a few kind of commentary position stuff.
The thing is, I don't think that, I don't read into that the way some people do. I think that the bloom's been off the rose with her for probably a year or 18 months, in the sense that she was no longer, there was that summer where they built the whole show around her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that at some point they backed off on that. And she was. I think there's a recognition that she's their top female performer, or the most over. And I believe a lot of the reason she's in the position she's in is because I would say she sells merchandise, which I would doubt any of the other women do. And I think that they recognize she's a valuable commodity, and so, knowing who her husband is, they didn't want to piss her off, so they didn't bury her. But at the same time, they haven't, like you said, they haven't given her a lot of storyline, mic time or anything like that. You know what I mean? She had this feud with Paige, this interminable 5 pay-per-view feud, and I can't really remember a promo. I can just remember some commentary stuff. But but like I said, I think Jim Ross and other people have said she's on her way out. So I thought the website was telling, because as well, if you've gone on it, she's put effort into it. She's gotten photo shoots done for it. She's got like several sections on there. So that to me tells me she's preparing to segue away, and she wants to take some of that audience while she's there.
Speaking of somebody else who might be going away, Brock Lesnar is pretty much finishing with the company WrestleMania. It's all but said and done. There was a lot of talk about him playing WWE against UFC on his way out the door, but now the Bellator are in the money business, and Viacom are seriously backing them with their new president, Scott Coker. They're also going to make a play. And WWE, in my opinion, becomes a distant third. Not simply because of Brock's priorities. I do think he wants to fight, so that doesn't help them very much. But I also don't think that due to the cannibalization of the pay-per-view industry that they can justify $5 million a year anymore.
No, it's an interesting one. I would assume they'll make a big play to keep him, because Vince always wants what he can't have, and if he senses that Brock wants to go, he'll probably want to keep him. That's the way Vince is. And if you can have someone, he doesn't particularly want them.
They are, though, in a difficult position. The amount of layoffs they've had to do.
They are in a difficult position, money wise, but regardless, I think he goes elsewhere. I mean, it was reported today that Dave Meltzer, who would obviously speak with people in that camp, said that he's leaning toward UFC. Yeah. Bellator, it does seem to me to make more sense, because they can protect him, give him easy fights, they can pay him. They probably cut him a cool $1.5 million fight. I think one thing people don't take into account, people are kind of looking at it like, well, he goes and does 2-3 UFC fights a year, he gets a couple of million per fight. That makes the most sense. But if he's going to do the UFC, he's going to have to do it seriously. So that means 8-12-week camps. That means starting up his gym again. There's costs involved with that. There's time and energy. And, we all know that what Brock wants to do is be at home on the farm. So, I don't think it's a done deal that he ends up in UFC. And I don't even think it's a done deal that he doesn't stay with WWE. We don't know, for all we know, because it was reported when he retired. Not reported. He flat out said when he retired that he promised his wife that if he didn't win that fight, he was done, because he'd had a lot of health issues. Now, we're not behind closed doors. Maybe Rena thinks, okay, you're fully healthy, go for it. But I'm not convinced that she's not still thinking, we've 3 kids, we've a beautiful house, with all the money we could ever need. Why do you want to go in there and get the shit kicked out of you again? Sure. So maybe he's just playing the Bellator and the UFC card to get more money from Vince next year. I don't know.
Yeah, and regardless how well his health is compared to when he was fighting, what can't be denied is that he's a couple of years older and he's used to not having to do much. You know, he's getting paid a fine salary to do 25 appearances, which doesn't include doing 8 week
I don't even
camps.
think it's 25, is it?
I think it's 25 per year, isn't it?
Okay.
It's usually about
It's
3
the 3
Raws.
pay-per-views. I don't think there's 7 Raws. That would be 22 Raws then on top of pay-per-views. I don't think he's on 22 Raws, but not by a long shot.
Is he not up to... He's kind of... within one of the years, he did 4 matches on, not 3.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
So-
I don't know, but it's certainly it's a low number anyway.
Definitely. So, you know, I think
I
it's
will
a
say
very
this.
different kind of lifestyle if he was to go back to MMA.
I read Brock's book, Start to Finish, which probably took me about an hour, but very recently, and it really struck me because he wrote it when he was in UFC. So there was no pretensions about his feelings for pro wrestling, and I mean, he's hard on pro wrestling. He really has a distaste for it, and I mean, you can tell in his performances while he's there that there's a pride in his work. There's no denying that.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, he doesn't have any love for the wrestling industry, so I could well see him really wanting to fight. He's a competitive... That's the other thing that comes across in the book. The 2 things that come across are, 1, the most important thing to this man is the bottom line. 2, he really wants to compete. So I could see him... I could see UFC. I really could. I just think, even though we all might think differently, he will probably think I can go there and make waves again.
Yeah, definitely. I think that he would... see, it's a weird one because there's a contradiction there. It's all about the bottom line. If Bellator offer more money, but if
having said what I said, I don't think Bellator can offer more money because if UFC gives him pay-per-view points, I don't see Bellator offering him 2.5-3 million per fight.
Sure.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, it could. You could argue it'd be worth their while, but I don't see that. So if it's all about money, I think the UFC, no matter what, would probably offer the most. If they offer him pay-per-view points and he believes he can promote fights, that's where he ends up.
I certainly don't think it would be worth Bellator's money because, like, as much as Brock Lesnar has proven his salt as a draw in mixed martial arts, it takes 2 to tango, and I don't think that like there's many matches, you know. And I think after you do the inevitable Lashley match, it's kind of like how many people are going to be interested in watching Brock versus heavyweight XP, you know?
Bigfoot Silva fights Frank Mir in a battle of washed-up fighters in February, right?
Yeah.
Work with me here. We'll say Bigfoot Silva goes in there and knocks Frank Mir out, which, you know, with Mir's chin being what it is, we could well see that, okay? That would be his 5th loss in the UFC in a row, and I'm fairly sure at that point they would cut him.
I know where we're going.
I believe Mir's probably looking to retire soon enough anyway, but I could absolutely see Bellator saying, listen, you know, we'll feed Lashley someone like the guy they fed, or not Lashley. They'll feed Lesnar, one of the guys they already fed to Lashley. Get him a nice win. Don't even put Frank Mir in there with anyone because I wouldn't trust him to beat anyone at this stage. And do that fight in the summer. And I think, you know, you can get maybe 3.5-4 million viewers of that fight.
It's huge. Well, it's the rubber match.
Exactly. And it was always stupid to me that the UFC didn't make that. They were going to make it, and then Dana White got on the internet, and a lot of people got on him on Twitter and on the underground that it was a bad move, and that was that's almost in some ways, looking back on it, when the UFC started its decline. And I'm not blaming that, but it was when they stopped thinking like they did in 2006, and they're booking Hoist Gracie against Matt Hughes in a fight that made no sense but made a lot of money. Nowadays they're very sensitive to fan criticism, you know.
Yeah, and they think that they need to have a legitimacy, that people need to earn fights.
You don't.
Besides the James Toney
it's
thing.
prize fighting,
Yeah, but that's just not how they want to be seen, I suppose. TNA have officially signed with Destination America. It is about less than half the potential viewership that Spike is in the States.
It's in 52% of the homes, but a lot of it would probably be on a paid tier, so where Spike is on your basic.
Yes.
It's kind of like over here, if you had Freeview, Spike be on your Freeview, and Destination America would be on some people's Freeview, but for some people it would be something they'd have to pay for extra.
You'd have to maybe
like
buy
Sky Sports subscription or something.
the documentary section, so you get the Discovery channels.
Yes, basically.
Exactly. So, it's... they're supposedly going to start filming the newest episodes of Impact that are going to debut in January, this coming month, in the middle of December.
Is it true? I heard a rumor that you were going to actually bring the wedding and the honeymoon forward so you could be in the Hammerstein Ballroom for the TNA taping in December. I know the champagne corks were popping when the deal was signed, and you and Claire toasted Dixie. I know that.
Yeah, well, we are. I'm very in favor of always toasting to Dixies.
Yeah.
But no,
Actually, do you know what that reminds me of? I don't know why I came from it. Do you remember the during that Claire Lynch storyline with Kaz and all that, when Christopher Daniels said AJ had been whistling Dixie? I thought that was one of the funnier lines in wrestling in 2013.
It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. So basically, because Spike had a lot to do with the cash flow, and obviously they had some exclusive contracts coming in through Spike, there's a lot of people that are out of contract, and also because a lot of TNA contracts just finish at the end of the year as well.
Yep.
So they're going to have to actually rehire a lot of the roster back. So
which is, it's fascinating because
Yeah.
if this was even 5 years ago, wouldn't you think Vince would have gone in and said, right, take Rude, take Storm, we'll take Angle and fucking do something with them?
it's as much a mentality change in WWE though
performance
as it is they're all 5 years older.
That's true, yeah. No, but even still, I think that, 7. I think the 5 years ago he would have taken a few of them, just not to do anything with them, just to take them. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. I think 5 years ago he probably would have taken Kurt.
I don't know. Kurt seems to be like, I almost have an asterisk next to Kurt because I believe he just doesn't want Kurt. That's why apparently they offered him a full-time deal.
Because they knew he'd say no.
Yeah. But I think,
Did
there
they
was
really
always
offer
that thing
him a
about...
full-time deal?
You what?
Did they actually offer him a full-time deal?
Did they actually offer him a
I
full-time?
don't know if they did.
That's what that was reported in the Observer, yeah. And actually Angle said that in interviews as well, that he was offered to come back full-time and he said no.
It's a pity.
It is a pity. Well, I mean, he couldn't and shouldn't.
I just want to see him. I just want to hear
yeah,
that
it
pop.
just feels really... I feel like we as wrestling fans are getting denied something. But you have to remember, when did you ever see Vince McMahon unconditionally release someone because he was worried they were going to harm their own health? I mean, he let Kurt walk into TNA at a time when they were more... I mean, obviously there was heat. They were not happy when Christian went the year prior, so that it was on their radar in 2006 because they'd just gotten on Spike and stuff, and he let Kurt walk.
It was
into
2005
TNA.
and 2006 that you would get the faint TNA chance at WWE shows, remember?
I do not ever remember that now.
You're kidding
You
me.
need to cite an example and I'll go back and watch it. but
There
I-
was a pay-per-view, definitely, in 2005. There's TNA chance, yeah.
I just, whatever ever happens with TNA, I have different opinions. I think, for me, I think this is great news because it means the wrestlers have a place to work and there's an extra wrestling television show for people to watch if they enjoy the TNA product, which, at the moment, I haven't been watching recently, but apparently it's a good product. I haven't been watching because I don't want to watch the show in the dark arena with 200 people because I watched one of the episodes and it wasn't for me.
Yeah, but we talked about this, and Destination America aren't going to supply a new Impact Zone, so you better get used to it.
No, but the Bethlehem tapings, I don't care what you say. You don't watch the show, so you wouldn't know this.
I saw what
They
it
were
looked
the
like.
exception to the rule. Like the Hammerstein shows were terrific, and they were great fun. They were lively crowds, and
So that's where they're going for the debut shows on Destination America, is that correct?
is Destination America. Yeah, the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York. Now, the thing that I was going to say was, obviously we've discussed, it doesn't really change things in the sense that, to me, they're just going to have a much smaller fan base to draw from. They're going to have less money to spend. So, we've kind of discussed was there any point? You know what I mean? And I still can sit here and tell you, as happy as I am that they've been renewed, I don't see the business sense in it. I don't see how this company ever makes big money. However, one thing that we should throw into, and I think this is a key thing, is that when UFC was on Spike TV, they were Spike TV. Spike ran UFC Unleashed around the clock. The UFC was the biggest thing on the network, and it was out front. When the UFC moved to Fox, FX, all that, they're just part of the package, and the UFC the popularity has tanked in the 3 years since, and the visibility is tanked in the years since. TNA has gone into this deal with Destination America. They've been told there's going to be some programming around it, which will probably be the Explosion show, probably on the station. There'll probably be some reality TV specials. There's going to be some best of shows. So they're really going to try and push the brand. Now, in the same way as Spike's in less homes than Fox, Destination America is in less homes than Spike. So I don't think Destination America can be as valuable to TNA as Spike was to UFC. But I do think that they can maybe engage more of their audience. And I feel like in the last year, when you watch TNA, it felt like a dying promotion. I don't know what it will feel like in 6 weeks, but I know that they have a chance to remove that stench. And it's only 18 months since they were on the road doing all those Impact taking, and they weren't drawing huge, but they're drawing 2,000 or 3,000 people at times, which is, those aren't ridiculous numbers to aspire to get to again. So, I'm not optimistic, but I'm hopeful.
I just don't think they can recover. And if they went to a channel that had similar viewership or exposure to the general population of the States as Spike, I'd still be pessimistic. So the fact they're going somewhere so much smaller, and I know you're saying, well, that just means people can be more dedicated to them, but whatever about the channel being more dedicated to them, I don't know how many TNA fans are gonna.
See, this is fascinating. Over. Historically, wrestling fans will find the wrestling. When WWE's moved stations, they've never lost huge amounts of their audience, whereas other shows would. Wrestling fans are very loyal. I mean, TNA fans are the ultimate battered housewives. You know what I mean? They stick around through thick and thin, no matter what they're fed. So, I mean, I think the record for a TV show on Destination America is 473,000 viewers. So I think that really looks like that's about TNA's ceiling. So I think they could maybe get 400, 450, if once they're established. And we don't know. See, we don't know what the TV money is from Destination America. I mean, we don't know. Was there any other suitors? I mean, we would doubt that there would be any other suitors who were willing to who were in the homes that Spike were, but there could have been other stations at that level which could have helped them with prices. We don't really know.
That's incredible. I just got some news there. Toto are coming to Dublin, to Vicar Street in May. I'm so excited. Africa, hold the line. No?
I don't, but go on.
Okay, well, anyway, I'm tremendously excited.
Professionalism here.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's go to Monday Night Raw, speaking of professionalism. Okay, so we had the Authority come out with the rest of Team Authorities. That was Stephanie, Triple H, Seth, Kane, Luke, Harper, Mark Henry, Rusev, Lana.
Can I just interrupt here? What I really liked here was it just felt so fresh and new to have the Authority coming out to cut a long, pointless promo at the start of the show. It just was something I hadn't seen in a long time,
Absolutely. Now, in all fairness, they did just do their usual. I'm not even going to quote the promo. It was just absolute nonsense. But they were just saying that Cena, it was his last chance, basically. He could pull out now. And this brought out Ryback. And Ryback was standing there at the top of the ramp. And you must admit that this is now something new. Ryback cutting a promo at the top of the ramp very badly. He was still very over, though, which I couldn't believe after last week's show.
He got that Pavlov reaction, right?
Well, it didn't sustain anyway. Another thing Tripp said was the last time the inmates ran the asylum, it was WCW, and you know how that turned out, which was interesting.
It's just I despair at the need still 15 years later to take jabs at WCW. It's like they couldn't look at the fact that they own WCW and they're trying to monetize it on the network. Oh no! It's much more important to get subtle jabs in.
Of course, yeah. We had Dolph Ziggler announced to go against Luke Harper for the break. So when we came back, it was then revealed it was going to be for the IC title. Before the match, Mercury, Noble, and Rollins jumped Ziggler and nailed him with a briefcase. And Harper then, I can't remember what move he gave, but anyway, this wasn't the finish. They ended up having a little match for a while before Harper won with a spinning lariat. And Luke Harper, of all people, is the new IC champion. And that feels really weird to me because I just don't know. Can you see like Luke Harper even getting much promo time or him having a long reign and whatever about the belt?
Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, I don't understand why they were separated from Waylon and Mercy. I don't understand why they're not friends and they're opposite teams. I don't understand why Luke Harper hasn't wrestled in months and is now the Intercontinental Champion. I don't understand what his gimmick is. I thought he was this bottom feeder who looks like a hobo, and now he's part of the Authority. I don't understand.
Oh, he's not part of the Authority. He's part of Team Authority. Okay. Because he's a team player.
I see. I don't understand any of this, and I thought it was hot garbage, and I kept wondering where John Cena and Dolph's teammates were.
Yeah, John was very neglectful of his teammates, which we'll talk about a bit later. Next, we had Miz and Miz there backstage with Grumpy Cat, or as Michael Cole said, Grumpy the Cat, because of course Michael Cole is so clued in. As much as WWE were, because as far as I'm concerned, Grumpy Cat had come and gone.
I don't even know who Grubby Cat is now.
Yeah, you never seen his picture before? Her picture before?
It's a cat.
It's a cat.
This could have been
It's a cat.
Brendan.
It's a cat that looks like it's got a mental impairment.
This could have been Brendan or Stevie, as far as I was concerned.
That's very kind of you. They're my cats, by the way.
Well, I didn't know you were going to come out with that mental impairment line there, but anyway, go on.
Do you think they sedated the cat?
Yeah, that's what the talk was, isn't it?
They're fucking cunts.
Well, I'm sure they did it in such a way that they were on the right side of the laws, etc.
Like the stuff they used to do with Matilda, and I know it wasn't their fault, you know.
It was they do with Matilda. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't like when Hawk feed Matilda gimmicks
Would he?
and fuck her
I'm
up.
sure Hawk would. I'm sure Hawk would. Anyway,
Do you love Hawk?
I don't know if I would say I love Hawk.
I do.
I've been watching Nitros from 1995 with Hawk, and
He's something else.
yeah, he really is quite the specimen.
He's quite the specimen. I'll never forget. There's a promo. Is it the promo at the start of Bad Blood '97 where they come out and it's supposed to be them against the Nation or something? I never thought the Nation were WrestleMania, but they come out and they're supposed to be tagging with Ken Shamrock, but he was injured.
Right.
I think it was on Chuck on Saturday night the day before. I'll never get Hawk saying, Ken Shamrock, he's not here. He's in the hospital, spitting up blood.
I love the way you have these vivid memories, Neil. Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
I've been watching Hawk on Nitro.
Didn't they wear blue on Nitro for a while?
They did wear blue on Nitro. This is before that. This is when they were wearing the kind of like red and gold, almost diamonds on the side of their trunks.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is before Animal came back in. But at the start of Hawk's music on Nitro, he goes, what a rush! And I'm just like, that wasn't there, was it? I'm sure they've added that in post, WWE.
Why would WWE add it in?
WWE make all sorts of strange little...
But why would they do that?
I've seen shows where they've put Bret Hart's WWF music in, even though they have the rights to his WCW music. They're very weird, like.
That is amazing. And did he come out to the WWF Road Warriors music?
No, he came out to the WCW one, but it just sounded dubbed into me.
That's incredible. And that's just incredible. In 1990, it's PJ Placco. In 1992, or 91-92, did the Legion of Doom's WF team have the lead in, the Water Rush lead in?
I think it did.
Okay, that's fine. Right, so that was this stuff with the poor cat. Like anyway, basically
the poor cat.
The poor
He didn't have
cat.
to suffer through 2 segments. I had to suffer through all
Section 3
all
Gee.
16 and 15 commercial breaks.
You would have taken the sedation absolutely. Did you have any fizzy fellas beforehand?
No, immediately after them.
There you go. Their whole shtick was that they wanted to do an action movie with him, and they had a stunt double for him as what Mizdow is to Miz, and then Miz came back in and kissed the cat. Yep. Tyson Kidd, who's getting tremendous amount of airtime on WWF TV these
What's
WWF
up, brother?
TV these days.
What's up, brother?
What's up, brother? What's
Remember
up,
that?
brother? What's that?
When Natty walked up to him backstage at when he was, you remember? She had, for some reason, this married couple aren't in contact at all, and she didn't know that Tyson was going to be at the building for Raw. And she walks up to him, and he had his headphones on. He just takes them off and goes, "What's up, brother?" It's like 5 stars.
That is 5 stars.
He is 5 stars.
He's so good in every way. Did you see the triple threat on SmackDown?
No.
Okay, neither did I. Pity. It's supposed to be great. Go see it. He defeated Asm Rose again. They did a thing with the bunny. Basically, it was trying to chat up Natty, and he kind of got distracted by this, and then asked the bunny to help him. The bunny didn't. And then the bunny humped him. And it was pretty explicit for PGWE. Have this thing humping him. So it's clearly Justin Gabriel.
Is it? Yeah, because it was Sami Zayn under the costume.
When, on Monday?
Yeah.
Was it actually?
But he's done it a few times, but they're not planning on it like revealing him as Justin Gabriel.
Because
but it would make sense.
But Justin Gabriel was doing all that stuff in a dance-off.
Rephrase. They're not planning on revealing it to be Sami Zayn. He just was.
But Justin Gabriel was doing all that on Tuesday at the house show, supposedly. Or on Wednesday at the house show.
Really? Yeah.
Doing all the humping stuff to kind of let the crowd in on it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
All right, we'll see. But anyway, so Adam Rose is very upset, and at least it's a win for Tyson.
That's like 3 or 4 in a row now. He's beaten Adam Rose a few times to get the count out over Sheamus.
There you go. Bray Wyatt came to the ring for a promo with Dean. He basically he was talking about Dean's parents being very neglectful and how they were really, really alike. And it kind of it was less, he spoke in kind of more plain English than in tongues this time around. And then Ambrose came on the big screen and said that they are kind of alike. In fact, there is stuff that he can learn from Bray, including spookiness. He said that he learned how to basically do pre-production recording. And then said that he was behind him. I don't know, was there a timing mistake here? Because when it did cut to the arena, it seemed that Bray turned around before Dean came into the ring.
I thought this was just horrendous television.
I didn't think the Dean was
okay,
bad.
number of problems. One, Ambrose said that they'd recorded this on his friend's cell phone.
Hell of a camera
which was coincidentally 1080p WWE HD quality. But okay, this angle has been done twice before in wrestling. It was done on Nitro once, and it was done by Steve Austin and The Rock.
The beeper.
When Steve Austin said, "Is it live or is it Memorex?" Remember that?
Oh, yeah,
The beeper went off, and Rock looks at his beeper, and Austin is behind him, ready to attack him. Remember this? The key to this angle is that you surprise attack him. Why did Dean Ambrose tell Bray Wyatt, "I'm going to surprise attack you," and then give him 30 or 40 seconds to look around the arena?
Austin did it again. Do you remember they had a Raw where there was like security with Vince? Mass security, and Austin appeared on the Titantron with Shawn Michaels, who's the commissioner in Shawn Michaels' house, supposedly.
That's true, actually.
And then it was Austin again.
Yeah.
So there
anyway,
you go.
I just
go
was
ahead.
like, this was just so stupid. Why did he do this? Why didn't he just come up and sneak attack Waylon during his promo? Like, I just thought it was terrible.
Michael Cole told us that Dolph Ziggler was in the hospital. So what is Team Cena going to do? Ryback came to the ring, and the audience had kind of cooled off on him at this stage.
Could you please refer to him as the Ryback, please?
The Ryback came to the ring, and he took on Cesaro in a very long match, and it was probably the best Ryback match you'll ever see. That's not a gimmick match. I thought Cesaro did a great job with him.
I think he's had matches that are better than like 1 star, hasn't he, before?
You didn't think this was good?
Poured the shit out of me. All I could do was look at Ryback going like this.
He was very blown up.
So gassed.
It
was just try hard.
It was hard to get into the match because you knew that the inevitable was going to happen, and this was just to put Ryback over, and it was probably so Ryback could have a good match. But I think for what it was a good match. Ryback won with the shell shock.
He's the wrong guy to be doing spots and stuff. It's just been nothing to me.
He's what?
He's the wrong guy to be doing all these spots and getting
thrown around.
He just he didn't
fine.
look like anything special.
But Cesaro, I'm glad, Cesaro should
Cesaro
look
lost
special.
in 90 seconds to Eric Rowan on SmackDown.
Did he?
Yep.
On SmackDown just
Like
gone?
he lost a squash match to Eric Rowan the next night. Don't give it to Cesaro.
Jesus
They
Christ.
had time to fail, so they said go out there and have a long match. And you can't have a long match without going back and forth, okay? But it wasn't a good match, and it wasn't what the people want to see from Ryback, and he was less over for having been in the match.
All right. Renee Young was talking to John Cena backstage, and Cena said that the Ryback is not going to be on his team, most likely, because he's a loner. Rusev and Lana were in the ring. Lana said that she was going to reveal her own nude photo, a topless photo. She was referencing the Kim Kardashian stuff. And nobody bought this.
Is this still the Kim Kardashian sex tape from about 10 years ago that she's talking about?
No. I can't believe that you don't know this. I can't believe a person on the planet doesn't know this. She did a new spread, basically. And one of them is just a picture of her arse.
Right.
Basically. And it's the front page of some sort of magazine, and it was all over the internet, and the tagline was that she was going to break the internet. It's called Kim Kardashian Breaks the Internet because this picture is going to cause such a stir. And it did cause a bit of a stir, and that's what they were referencing.
Gas.
There you go. So nobody bought this because it's 2014 WWE, and they've been PG for about 6 years. The picture...
Even at the height of the Attitude Era, I don't picture Deborah Marshall coming out and putting the Titantron, seeing her stand there full frontal with her legs spread.
No. She was specified as a topless photo.
I know.
And then we saw Putin on the horse, the famous photo of Putin on the horse.
Is that a famous photo?
Yeah. It's a pretty famous photo. It's the president of one of the biggest countries in the
several
world.
million miles away from the pulse, Neil.
Yeah.
Me.
Well, look, listen. If you were like Paul Dalton and you studied your politics, you'd know which world leaders dressed and which ones didn't.
Bounce checks. It's a shoot, brother.
I forgot there was a match here. Heath Slater came out in American regalia with new music.
Heath Slater is 5 stars. They should put the championship on him. Show it, Neil.
We just referred to him as 5-star Slater.
Which would have been more ridiculous? Heath Slater getting the championship for Brock Lesnar or Tank Abbott getting the championship at Sold Out 2000?
Who's he going to win off Sold Out 2000?
Benoit just been stripped.
Oh, yeah.
No, it was just before Benoit won it, wasn't it?
You know, Benoit and Sid was
Bret had
Sold
been
Out
stripped with
2000.
concussion.
Oh, yeah.
And so they were going to have a battle royal and Tank Abbott was going to win it. That was what Vince Russo wanted.
And then he would have defended against his mate.
Yeah.
Stampery. Or Super Bowl. Ken, I'm sorry, you're going to have to go back and watch that show.
Watch the match. Yeah. Just a match.
No. That fucking show.
I
It's going to be a classic review that's lost.
Uh,
It's literally the funniest show I've ever seen.
we'll talk.
Okay. So, yeah, Heath came out with a new gimmick for one night only to go against Rusev. This lasted very few seconds. Backstage, Miz and Mizdow had another segment with Grumpy Cat, and the cat was asleep.
I just have to say something.
Sure.
You probably heard, as I did, that there's going to be a Grumpy Cat movie. I don't understand the joke.
What?
Well, I don't understand. Why is he called the Grumpy Cat? What did he do?
Because it has a perpetually... Its face is perpetually grumpy looking. So
It just looks like a cat to me.
it does not look grumpy.
No, I think to a cat person maybe it would, but to a dog person, cats just look like this all the time anyway.
Well, it's definitely a grumpy looking cat, and people put up photos on the internet to respond to things they don't like with the grumpy cat because, like, shite.
I see.
Talk about your finger being off the pulse. I don't
That
even know.
escalated quickly.
There you go. This happened. I see. I was seeing.
You sounded like Lance Storm. There you go.
Please don't get married on that story.
And again,
And again, moreover, no, the thing about Grumpy Cat is, like, it was all over the shop last year, but I haven't
There
seen
you
it in a
go.
long time, you know?
that's typical with WWE. They bring things in a year after the fact.
Definitely. I'm sorry, I was just thinking of Bossman behaving badly because Big Show entered the ring next. Before his opponent could come out, Stephanie came out to ask Show to be the giant that he was when she was a 12-year-old girl again. No. This time, she said, I loved this segment, by the way, because although it was a diamond in a coal mine of shit, in the sense that what she offered him was hilarious. She offered him a spot in the Hall of Fame if he would not be a part of Team Cena. And
She didn't even pronounce it right.
what do you mean?
She mispronounced it. She didn't say Holly Fame.
She didn't say Hall of Fame, but she. You know what? After this, I was having a few drinks with the guys from the ITK soccer show.
At fucking 5 o'clock in the morning.
No, on Tuesday night.
Okay.
And we were in town, and we tried to go through active wrestlers who got inducted to the Hall of Fame. And this is
Flair?
actually not an exclusive club at all.
No, there was Flair for a start.
Piper,
Is he still active?
he's WrestleMania 25 at least.
Oh, that's true.
A few more things. Hogan.
Yep.
There's been a few.
I'm trying to think.
Sure, Hacksaw had a match against Heath Slater after he went in. Oh no, he
Yeah.
went in more recently.
Is
But anyway,
Hacksaw in the
there's a
Hall?
few.
He is, I guess.
Terry Funk, Jesus, Terry Funk.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Terry Funk. Anyway,
Bret Hart.
absolutely. Well, no, obviously former US champion after
Yeah.
he won the US championship after he went into the Hall of Fame. Then she
Oh God.
basically then she brought Sheamus out and said that they'll face each other, but the incentive for them to really
I'll be
go
walking
at it,
around Young Street with the United States.
Ken's referring Brett's butcher promo. We'll have more of that later.
Oh God.
So
And the fact the crowd still went mad.
yeah, bless them. Bless him. So the incentive for this match was going to be that the winner would get a title shot, become number one contender essentially. And the finish, right, saw Rusev and Mark Henry come out after these guys had such a long match that nobody gave a shite about. It felt like it went over about 4 ad breaks. And when the two guys came out, I said, oh, this is very clever. They're both going to hit a respective participant at the same time, and the match will be thrown out. So Stephanie doesn't have to keep her word. No. Rusev just kicked Sheamus out of the ring. So, ladies and gentlemen, your number one contender at Elimination Chamber to fight the winner of John Cena and Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, fast lane.
It's the Big Show. Fast lane is the Big Show.
Why are Mark Henry and Rusev sworn enemies, friends a couple of weeks later?
Because Mark Henry is ghetto, and he knows when he gets humbled by somebody who's more gangster than him that, you know, it rather, you know, if you can't beat him, join him.
Okay, but why would Rusev go for that?
Well, Rusev's just doing what Lana's telling him to do, which is what Stephanie's telling Lana to do.
All right, okay.
Surely.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. I did my best there.
Well written storyline.
Brie Bella came out impersonating AJ.
I thought she looked more like AJ than she does Nikki. I know other people said that, but I thought she looked quite
she
like
did,
AJ.
yeah.
I thought it was just a strange storyline because I was sitting there going, right, so Nikki said, you need to go out there and do your best AJ, and like Brie then actually went and studied your tapes and did her little gimmick where she sits in the ropes and she got her little pop socks and everything. It was just like only in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
I thought Brie looked more attractive as AJ than she does as Brie when she wears her hobo gear.
Definitely the hobo gear. I'd agree with that. Yeah. So Nikki had basically done this so she could have an exhibition
I didn't
match
understand this at all.
against Brie, dressed as AJ in front of
Hang on
AJ.
a sec, let's rewind for a second. I just remember to say, where was John Cena and all the rest of his team when Big Show and Sheamus were getting killed?
He was backstage trying to find Ryback's dressing room.
Okay, and where was... Oh, Ziggler was in the hospital.
Ziggler's in the hospital. Okay. See, it all makes sense.
Perfect sense.
So AJ was doing commentary, having to watch this exhibition. Nikki just got kind of some offense in on Brie until Brie started kind of like not accepting this. Brie eventually won with a roll-up after an AJ distraction. Then she started doing yes, and then AJ attacked Nikki. This has been toilet. I can't wait for it to be over. What's going to happen at the pay-per-view? People are saying that Nikki's going to turn or Brie's going to turn.
No, I think Nikki beats AJ. The 30 days is up on Tuesday at the SmackDown tapings. So, we'll probably start a feud with them for TLC.
The panel for Survivor
By the way,
Series,
considering how much time and energy they put into that Bella's feud, they just dropped it so cold. I mean, it's still going on, but just they dropped everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it was absolutely dire. The panel for Survivor Series, this is quite a panel. Bad News Barrett, the new and improved Fandango with Rosa, and Paul Heyman. So there you go. Big E finally got a new day vignette, and he was doing that thing he'd been doing a few months ago where he's talking like Jesse Jackson doing this preachery thing, going rah, rah, rah. And so the New Day will probably debut, I guess, on Monday.
I could see them on Sunday because they really have nothing for that show.
They need to make this show gigantic, don't they?
It's weird. It's one match. You know what I mean? So those guys have to have a 4-star plus match, which I don't know they can do.
You need to bring a lot of bells and whistles into it.
There's never been a Survivor Series elimination match over 4 stars that didn't involve Shawn Michaels.
I was about to say, what about Survivor Series 2003?
2002 and 2003, was it? No, 2003 and 2004.
It was 2003.
2003 and 2004. He was in matches with Randy. He was last eliminated. Almost sure of it.
Yeah, that's right. But the 2003 was the super one. The one with
juice.
The juice.
What a match.
And Austin coming out and picking him up at the end.
It's just astounding. Like, in Austin's promo, I started my career 15 years ago in Dallas, Texas. I feel somewhat justified that tonight I came here and my career is going to end right here in Dallas, Texas. And he just gets the beers and clicks them together and puts them down. And the camera just zooms in on the beers and we fade to black before the next match. I just thought, I knew it was bullshit because Austin's career was already over.
Yeah.
But it was just such terrific television.
And you see him and Sean walking out together.
But after him and Sean walked down the aisle, they zoomed back in the beers and faded out.
Fucking amazing.
Terrific.
I look forward to seeing this New Day thing. I just presume that it's not going to last very long.
Yeah.
Backstage, we had John Cena talk to Ryback, and basically they just did the same old stuff. And then Cena said, "Isn't it ironic that somebody always says Phoebe Moore doesn't want to eat a plate of shellfish when he's selfish or something like that?" If he had said that, Ken.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need to be quick on this contract.
I'm doing my best. The Miz and Miz.
Oh God, we still have other segments to go.
Stardust.
Why, Vince? Why?
Took on Fernando, Diego, Jimmy, and Jay. Stardust got the pinfall over Jimmy after Dark Matter. They just kept teasing Miz, tagging in Miz down, and not giving it to them.
That's in SmackDown they're teasing these two are breaking up.
Yeah, makes sense, I suppose.
It does make sense. They should win the tag team titles and be baby faces. Okay,
that's fine. Backstage, we had Grumpy Cat looking at the back of a television it was supposed to be watching. Now this. People are very critical, and rightly so, about the geometry in which people stand in a line and talk at wrestling promos. But never has there been such an affront to how the human eye works.
It was an unconscious fucking cat on the back of a television. This isn't entertaining, Vince.
Like, he's checking out how many HDMI inputs are on that device, King, for the network. See, J-Word would have improvised something like that. Probably not. So that was the last of Grumpy Cat, and now she's no longer with us.
She's not dead, Neil.
Okay, so we had the contract signing.
Oh, gosh.
And then Triple H tried to do a promo about how worked up he was, that this could be his last time on Raw, and that this match is more important than any match in his career. But he was either so good at acting or just so ill-prepared that he just kept falling over himself. And it was
He
really...
came across like this pathetic baby face. It was very strange.
It was really bad. And then John Cena came out. Oh, by the way, they'd announced that Sheamus was in the hospital. So that was that. So John Cena came out and just cut the longest, strangest promo where he started. He basically gave away the stories. He kept saying who was going to go and in what order they were going in, as in going to be pinned. And eventually he got in, and so I need to look at my notes here. The order of
his teammates came out. First was Ziggler, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ziggler came out, and then
Show. Then Eric Rowan.
Then they had Cesaro come out. They did the swerve with Cesaro, and then they had
Cesaro's last one before Ryback.
Oh, sorry. Then Rowan came out. You're right, and then
Cesaro came out and pretended to team with Cena, but then went to the other side, which made no sense because a few weeks ago he had the chance to be in the heel team. The heel team said no.
Yeah,
and then Ryback came out, and luckily the show came too close.
And that was that.
Yeah, wonderful. Podcast.
And they got the advantage, even though it was 6-on-5. Babyface, but listen, or heel to babyface. They did a thing where they put Seth through a table with an AA after doing. Was it Seth or was it Hunter went through the table? Hunter went through the table.
Yeah.
Okay, Hunter went through the table. They did a stare off with him and the Ryback, and they did a stare off with him and the Ryback last week.
And SmackDown, they had him pedigree Ryback as well. The
Ryback.
Ryback.
Why are they doing a Triple H Ryback?
They're going to do it at Royal Rumble, apparently.
Why are they doing it at Royal Rumble? And have you noticed any time the Trips has been rumoured for a match outside of Mania over the last 2 years, it actually hasn't happened?
Yeah.
But they're heavily teasing this.
Yeah, I suppose it's important. He hasn't really cut the legs off someone since he did it to Punk in 2011, so let's get on it, you know.
I wouldn't mind. But seriously though, are they actually? Can you honestly see Triple H versus the Ryback at the Royal Rumble?
I actually see it more TLC.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I just think they need something for that show.
Yeah.
I guess they think people after the Survivor Series are going to have the choice to either keep the network or cancel it, and maybe if you Triple H Ryback, Cena Rollins in a ladder match. No, I think you do Orton Rollins and then Cena Rusev. I don't know.
And if they did do Hunter and Ryback, and maybe they gave them a ladder match, would it be, or they gave them
the ladder is gonna be for Rollins? So
what if they gave Hunter and Ryback the full TLC match, and then would it be better or worse than the 2011 match with Nash?
It couldn't be worse. I don't believe it could be worse.
I can't believe that match happened.
I know, yeah.
In 2011.
Oh, so strange.
We'll put Kevin Nash in a ladder match after he's been feuding with Punk.
And to be fair, they didn't try and work a ladder match, you know.
No. Amazing stuff. Okay. I listened to the Bob Orton interview with Piper that we spoke about last week, and I said I was going to listen to it. Don't listen to it.
Okay.
Jericho had Paige on. And if you've seen the documentary about Paige's family that Channel 4 did, there wasn't much you got out of this. But one thing about Paige that I will say is that for her age, she came across very well spoken, and she came across really, really well, I thought.
Good.
You didn't hear it? No. Okay. Jim Ross had the Hardy Boys on. It was the Jericho interview with the Hardy Boys was better. There was nothing new here.
No, not really. It was interesting to hear them talk about that story with the payoff from SummerSlam 2000.
That's actually been covered on the podcast.
I know, yeah, but it's just good banter between them.
They, and unlike the Jericho interview, J-Word did his best to try and get Jeff to engage a bit more. Yeah,
Jeff is very, very laid back.
Very much so. He was very open about how much he'd love to come back to WWE. And I'd love to see him back at this stage.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
I'd like to see Jeff put over Seth the way he put over Punk, kind of thing. You know, you could do some great matches with them, I'd say.
I wouldn't do that. I'd do it the other way around.
You have Seth put over Joe. Yeah, you don't like Seth. I forgot this.
Yeah, but Jeff's only 37. You can get three. You know, people forget in 2009 he was a bigger star the John Cena.
I know.
You know what I mean?
The fact he's only 37 is insane.
There's a possibility of getting actual money out of Jeff Hardy. There's no possibility of Seth Rollins ever being anything other than a mechanic on the cards. He's a good worker, that's it.
So I can't believe you're as down on him on the mic as you are.
He's just crap. He's just nothing.
Not crap.
No, he's not crap, but people seem to think, people forget that a wrestling promo is to promote a match and get you emotionally invested. People think that because he's not a fucktard and he can read badly written lines without tripping over himself, he's a good promo. He's not a good promo. He can just speak without falling all over himself. And he goes,
I'm sure in time, when maybe he'd have a little bit more leeway to go outside of what's written for him, he could be a good promo.
He shows, but he's no charisma. He's just nothing to me. He's so blah.
I don't disagree with you on
Dolph
much, Ken.
Ziggler, only and actually as Dolph was as a heel as well. Well, Dolph probably had a little bit more charisma as a heel, but he's okay. There's nothing wrong with him, but he's just nothing special at all.
I don't know. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
I know you are,
Cole Cabana had Danny Davis on. I didn't listen to it, but I presume it's pretty good because obviously they work together a lot in OVW. And Danny Davis is, he's seen it all, brother. Worked a match at Mania 3. Let's not forget.
There you go.
Now, for those of you who have the pleasure, or in this case displeasure, of being subscribed to Wrestling Observer, they had their Hall of Fame issue. This
did you listen to the Ricky Morton show?
It is the worst interview I've ever heard Dave Meltzer be a part of.
I couldn't do it.
When
I read in the description that the phone quality was bad, I was like, I don't like Ricky Morton interviews anyway, but if it's going to be... How bad was the quality?
It wasn't actually that bad. But okay, two things real quick. So, the start of the interview, they were just like, how about the show? He's like, oh, well, how you doing, Dave? And Dave's like, sorry, that was actually Bryan. And he goes, he couldn't get his head around the fact there was two people interviewing, right? And then he started talking about the weather, right? And he said, it's, I think it's pretty cold over there in California where you are, right? And Dave goes, yeah, I'm in California, but Bryan's in Seattle. And he goes, you're in Seattle? He thought Dave was saying that Dave lived in Seattle. And he goes, I got my geography wrong. Because obviously they talked a lot. And Ricky Morton has always presumed that Dave Meltzer lived in California.
Which he does, yeah.
And then the other thing was... after Ricky Morton just wasn't able to answer questions, not because he's trying to dodge them, but because he doesn't have the kind of the neurological skills.
That's what it sounds like. It's always unfortunate when someone has a big southern drawl and they're not very intelligent, because it's the most stereotype. You just listen to them, you're like,
yeah,
who's this fucking idiot? You know what I mean?
So he would go on these tangents, and the worst was the kind of self-reality he had about it, where he'd kind of be like, I'm just going on a tangent here, guys, I'm sorry. But and anyway, when he'd finish, he'd go, hello? Because he thought he couldn't hear them or whatever. He just got, and the first few times Dave was like, yeah, no, we're here, it's okay. And he's like, oh, sorry guys, sorry. And then eventually Dave got so pissed off that when Morton would finish his spiel and go, hello, Meltzer would go, yeah. Every time.
I think I might have to work.
It's amazing. And he's like, I'm sorry guys, I got one of these phones where it doesn't make a sound if it cuts off, and I just don't.
God.
It was fucking terrible. You know, it was very similar to the one he did on Austin, where he just talked about how sad he is that he didn't get an education because he feels that he was ripped off by promoters. Speaking of Steve Austin, he had two great shows on. He did a commentary that you're encouraged to
watch along with. You're encouraged to watch the WrestleMania 13 match with Bret Hart while he talks you through it in terms of, what they were talking about in the ring and what they were doing, that kind of thing. Which, I don't know why I did this, but I just listened to this when I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Oh, me too.
Did you?
Yeah.
There were a couple bits I was unfamiliar with, but I just kind of thought I know that match so well but maybe I'll go back and listen to it again.
Yeah.
It sounded like he was riled up by something Bret said in an interview, and I don't...
Yes.
What exactly did Bret say?
Bret said that he bladed Steve because Steve didn't feel comfortable doing it.
That's it. Yeah, but surely that's true in the sense of they had to get away with it.
Yes.
So that I think Steve thought he meant as in he felt he couldn't blade.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's as simple as that.
I think that's the way Bret tells it in his book, actually, maybe. So maybe it's just a malfunction at the junction there.
I think there is a malfunction at the junction. It's fascinating. It's fascinating.
It's a pity they didn't do it together, though. Because there was talk a long time ago when he had Bret on that they would do something about this match together.
No, he said that. Yeah, he said that, and unfortunately they didn't. It's just Steve doing it, but it is very, very entertaining. And it was Bret's idea to get the blood. For those of you who don't know, so if you guys just think that Bret Hart made Steve Austin by having really good matches with him, He never actually put Steve over,
know.
but by having
But he
good
did
matches.
actually. That's the funny thing is that in that time you could get put over by
Oh yeah,
losing to
well,
Bret Hart.
absolutely. But yeah, it's fantastic. But he suggested the blood, and what would Steve be without that blood?
Yeah,
It's
well, I think
such
his
a
exact words were,
crucial-
"You won't get over if you don't. If you, it'll look weak if you just go unconscious in the
But
sharpshooter."
like, man, I don't think you can even quantify how much that blood means to that
Oh,
match.
unbelievable! The image,
Yeah.
T-shirts, the post, the video that was on the cover of
What do you think of their third match?
the Revenge Taker match.
Yeah.
I don't think a great deal of it.
Yeah.
They both had bad knee injuries at that stage. So
They tried their hardest though.
they really did. But it's like a 3.5 star match at the time, and it's about 2 3/4 now.
The other interview that Austin had this week is with Bill Apter. I just unfortunately didn't get to listen to it.
But that's today.
That was today. That's
I
today.
haven't even had a chance to.
Is there anything I'm missing here? We usually have more. Nothing on
No, I think that
MLW
was
The
it.
Law.
I can't think of anything. Oh no, well, there's some interesting stuff on the Chelsea and stuff, but it was more MMA related, really. I don't think there was much other in the wrestling world. Who did Jericho have on this week again?
That was
we had
Paige.
Slash as well.
Yeah.
No one wrestling related. So that would be it.
Okay. So Ken has requested that we watch the 3 Monday Night Raws leading up to
I
Survivor
didn't
Series
request,
94.
I demanded, Neil.
And what's the total running order of these three together? Because there is elements
running
missing from
time.
one of them. Yeah. Sorry.
Total run time would have been in minutes, 125 minutes, so 2 hours 5 minutes. And that's for 3 Monday Night Raws. Now, granted, we're about 10 minutes short because for some reason the actual tape they have in WWE, which is uploaded onto the network of the November 14th, 1994 Raw, is missing about 10-15 minutes. So
Yeah.
so we will come to that as we come to it. So
Okay.
we're going to start with Raw from November the 7th of 1994. Just so you know, the theme here is these are the 3 Raws to lead up to the Survivor Series 1994, which is obviously 20 years ago. This very week, and so we're
great
gonna do-
idea, Ken.
We're going to do Survivor Series 2014 on next week's show, and then we're going to do Survivor Series 1994 the week after, and compare and contrast.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we open the November 7th, 1994 Raw with Bret Hart and Davey Boy Smith against Owen Hart and Jim Neidhart. Real different feel. You just open, you're straight into a wrestling match, and this was a big deal at the time because if you remember, Davey had come in at SummerSlam 94. He was ringside for the cage match.
Yeah.
When after the match, Davey or Neidhart and Owen were kind of beating up on Bret, and Davey made the save. So that match then went all around the houses for 3 months, and so this is the start of November. They were comfortable that we've blown that kind of thing off.
Okay.
Which I even find it fascinating now that their idea was, well, we'll have a tag match that will headline the house shows and draw people for 3 months. You know what I mean? It just seems so foreign in today's business. You know?
Yeah, it is 20 years ago.
Yep. So it opens up with Davey Boy body pressing Owen to the floor.
Davey was still huge here.
And he had his long hair.
Yeah.
But without the braids. What did you think of this?
I love Davey's look here.
I think this was Davey's best look.
Yeah, but I've been watching a lot of 97 Raws, as you know.
Mhm.
So obviously there's a huge contrast here just in terms of all them being in the Hart Foundation.
Yeah,
at this
yeah,
time, and the fact that this was only 3 years earlier, because we always talk about this, Ken, but if you take away 3 years from now, like, not much seems to have happened besides all the stuff with Punk and
No.
Brock coming back. That's about it.
10 years, not much has happened.
But Davey is still gigantic here.
He's very big, yeah.
He shrinks down so much by 96. It's kind of incredible.
Yeah, he does. It's just physical. It's going to sound really stupid, but it's just physical size. It's not one area. His whole body, like especially his shoulders.
Oh
his
my
neck,
God, yeah.
Everything just shrinks in. He's still incredibly cut.
Sure.
But he just doesn't look the same. I love Bret's gear.
The
at time
graffiti
with
gear.
The graffiti. I always liked that. He didn't wear that enough.
And it wasn't the weird graffiti gear that had orange graffiti. Do you remember that? There was pink and black and orange.
The Survivor Series?
Yeah.
I thought it was on yellow. I always had that.
It was orange, I think.
Is it? Okay. Because
But
the trim is yellow on the side of it.
yeah, that's right. But this was
Yeah, that was a one and done. He never did that again.
that's right. This was pink top, black bottoms, and black graffiti.
And Jim Neidhart, I have a theory that Neidhart was a little bit overweight at this point, because if you recall, in this run, he always wore all pink, which was just so weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He never wore, because, he normally varied up, but he was always in all pink, which wasn't very...
Why do you think that means he's overweight?
I think maybe he had a pair of tights that were bigger than the rest of them.
Okay, because
So-
black is a slimming colour. So
That's very true, but I just thought maybe he had... or maybe this is his last pair of hair
do
foundation
you know what,
tights.
man? When he comes back in '97, he's huge as well. I forgot how fat he was then. But there you go.
Davey is also in his shorts here. So I was very focused on their outfits here. Davey for the Hall of Fame I've written here. I just think it's a crime that he's not in that Hall of Fame, considering
Absolutely.
what they have. So this match is to build to Brett versus Backlund at the Survivor Series with Owen Hart and Davey in the corners. It's a submission match with the idea that Owen and Davey have towels which they can throw into the ring to quit for their wrestler. Owen's towel will allegedly, and I say allegedly, be the very same towel that Arnold Skolin threw into the ring in 1983, which meant Backlund lost his title to the Iron Sheik, which I kind of sat there and thought, where were they keeping this towel for a decade?
It's also an incredibly clean-looking towel.
Yes.
So it doesn't have the sweat of the garden in '83. If this is the legit towel, it's been maintained, preserved, and washed with the highest brand of detergent.
Absolutely. And Owen is going to have a pink and Davey's going to have a pink and black towel, so that if Brett quits, it'll at least be in keeping with his gimmick, which I always found funny. Owen at one point works a chin lock for 4 straight fucking minutes.
That's right.
Eventually Owen accidentally nails Anvil. Bulldog gets the hot tag. Brett has one of his comebacks, and it's just awesome. Everything is very, very tight. His punches, his headbutts, his kicks. I've noted the people didn't buy any of the near falls the heels had here, and eventually Brett just submits Jim with the sharpshooter. I actually thought the match was just okay. It was 3 stars.
It was okay.
I almost found it surprising that we got a clean finish and one that built Brett's submission hold going into the submission match. I was like, no, I don't understand. It just doesn't make any sense. It's too logical, So
just a bit of backstory. Who's booking here at the time? We've got Vincent, Pat, and JJ.
Yep.
Okay. Do you want to actually do a little kind of like a brief break and say some comments about his book, or do you want to do a proper review of that one day? Or
I'll do more on that another time. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because you just finished it and you're raving about it.
Terrific book.
Okay.
I noticed they were in the Fernwood Resort in Bushgill, Pennsylvania. Here you can see Fernwood on the back. This is when Raw was a smaller show, and you can actually see the back of the building. And when they use certain shots. They had at one point they showed the fans on the hard camera side, and it was like TNA. It was like 10 people and just a few empty rows, and then the back wall, which was
this was them. Now, obviously, people talk about their financial struggles in 1996-97, but attendance-wise, this was their worst time.
Yes, this building was for a 4-week Raw taping.
Oh my god!
It held 1,400 people.
Hold on. Sorry, Ken. I'm so sorry.
All the Raws we watched from this building.
Oh my god! It makes sense now.
Not only did this building hold 1,400 people, they did not sell it out.
No.
They had 1,200 people in the building.
1,200.
Think about that.
1,200 people.
Yeah. If TNA did that now, it wouldn't be considered anything great. But that's where they were at the time.
They had 1,200 people that had to see Doink come out 7 times.
About that, yeah. And what was interesting as well was that I looked it up, and the Fernwood Resort in Bushkill, Pennsylvania is still going. It's got a golf course, and they hold like business seminars where this Raw was filmed. It's not an arena, it's not for that kind of thing.
People, I know that somebody had seen the Monday Night War documentary that came out in DVD, and they said to me, they said something about Raw running in gymnasiums in 93 and 94, and they were like, that's an exaggeration, right? And I was like, no.
That happened.
Yeah, it got bad.
I remember the fantastic Bret Hart 1-2-3 Kid match. That's in a gym.
That's fucking in a gym.
Yeah.
Yep.
Todd Pettengill does the Survivor Series report in the most unflattering tie-dye t-shirt that I've ever seen.
Oh my god. He had a great voice though.
They run down the entire card. I have more to say about these a bit later on, but we've got 3 to get through here, so...
Well, surely you have to mention himself, right?
Let's mention...
Okay, grand. The first 2 of these have...
Of Todd.
Chuck Norris promos.
Okay, do they? Okay.
Do they?
I'm just sort of struggling to remember everything here.
These Chuck Norris promos, Ken, they're film... Good. So Chuck Norris is going to be the enforcer.
Yeah.
In the, what match?
Yokozuna Undertaker.
Yeah, Yokozuna Undertaker match. Neither of whom appear on the Raws leading up to Survivor Series.
No.
And, Chuck Norris is just... It's amazing. They show clips of Chuck Norris in a gym just having to go with this lad, and it looks so much more convincing than anything in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
But it's completely worked.
Yeah, I thought he was very dry in his delivery though.
But that's
For somebody who was an actor, like.
that's his gimmick.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was incredible to see him on WWF television there. I forgot that he.
You see,
he
I
did.
was watching all this at the time. You know what I mean?
That's
So,
incredible.
Bam Bam Bigelow against Tyrone Knox. No relation to Mike.
You were going to recognize a lot of names of jobbers on these shows. We had an amazing array of jobbers on these 3
Raws.
Raws.
We'll come to them. This is when Bam Bam was in the $1 Million Corporation. Bam Bam wins with a weird variation on the Enziguri kick. It's funny because you watch some of these shows and guys are using finishes that aren't really their finishes when it comes to squash matches.
So and the squash matches are longer than I remember.
Some of them are painfully long.
Yeah.
Okay, so
can
this
we
is
talk
the
about
most
Bam Bam's music? Is not the worst entrance music in the history.
Bam.
Yeah, and it's all out of time. The Bam Bams are out of time. They come in
Yes.
and bam, bam.
I remember buying the Raw video game in like 1993. I started being wrestling fan in 92, and then if you remember, Sky went away for a while.
Yep.
So I didn't see wrestling for a long time, but I bought the video game during the 9 months I didn't see wrestling, and they had Bam Bam's music in the game. I was like, what is this?
Can I ask you a question about Bam Bam Bigelow?
Yeah.
Do you remember in '95 after he lost to LT and turned face? This is so rare. This was like a month, maybe 3 weeks. Do you remember the new and improved Bam Bam Bigelow? It's one of
stuff.
he was wearing all red and orange, and he
Yes.
had like this shoulder
I was
gimmick and
just
all
thinking
this
about
pyro.
recently. Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, their original plan was he was going to be like a top babyface, and then Shawn and Diesel put the X-Day on it.
They did, yeah.
Okay, so here comes the most interesting part of the show, I thought. The most interesting part of the 3 shows we watched. We cut to ringside, and Vince announces that Randy Savage has been unable to come to terms on a new deal with the WWF. He stumbles over his words while he's saying this. He says, Randy, I know you're out there listening. And he says, thank you from all of us in the WWF for all of your contributions, from all of your fans, and especially for me, your biggest fan. Thank you for all your positive contributions and all the wonderful memories. We wish you nothing but the best. Vince was seriously choked up here. Randy had actually been in Stamford 3 days earlier, taking promos for a special referee spot for Madison Square Garden for Brett Backlund in the Garden 3 days after the Survivor Series. That ended up being replaced, of course, by Diesel Backlund. At the same time, he'd been negotiating with WCW and Vince. And when Vince found out he was negotiating with WCW, they kind of had their split. But they tried to part ways as friends. But Randy apparently was quite shaken up by the whole thing. Apparently, they were really close, and they were both quite upset at how it had gone down. But the anger, I guess, didn't fester and develop till later on. But I found this fascinating to actually watch it, and it was because I was aware this existed, but I hadn't seen it, and I certainly wasn't prepared for it. And I was like, wow.
I had seen it before. I did not have any idea it was on this show, and when it came on, I'm not going to say I wasn't slightly distracted when the Bam Bam squash match was on. So when it came on, I literally popped. I was like, oh no, it's this. It's fascinating. He's never done it for anybody else.
No, and he genuinely wishes him the best.
Oh,
which
he looks.
What
He
then
looks
would happen later on.
Look, listen. For those of you who like wrestling is wrestling, and you have to take everything with a pinch of salt. Vince McMahon knew he was going to WCW. He had absolutely nothing to gain by doing this except it being something he wanted to do.
Yeah.
So it's incredibly heartfelt. It's about as heartfelt as you'll ever see from Vince, unless he's apologizing about something that's happened that he's done. And it's it is so fascinating, and it really makes you think watching it, Ken, that something must have happened in the interim that soured things.
In just while we're on the topic, I figured it would come up. Have you seen the Randy Savage DVD yet?
No.
Okay, I have. Do you remember we discussed how they broach the Stephanie thing?
Right.
They don't really broach the Stephanie thing. It was exactly what I had said. What they do is they talk about the fact that that WCW closed down, that Hogan, Hall, and Nash all came in, but Randy never came back. Lanny starts to talk about how Randy never got over the Huckster skits, and then Lanny also says Randy never got over Triple H calling him a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Which then segues into the clip of Randy saying, Triple H, I'll bitch slap you and take your girl, Stephanie McMahon.
Yeah.
And then Lanny says, and that was just throwing gasoline on the fire. And Dusty Rhodes says, it's something that we'll never know. But if you watch it, okay, because I watched this with my wife. If you didn't know the Randy Savage or the Stephanie rumor, you would have no idea that it just wouldn't. It would just seem like an innocuous something. It would just seem like something Randy mentioned in the promo.
Sure.
But if you do know, you get the impression they're trying to address it. It's so subtle. I'm guaranteeing you that that's why it got as far as it did, because I don't think that people in positions of power would look at it and think, oh, they're addressing that.
That's very interesting. You just brought up the Huckster sketches with the Nacho Man. They would have come in about a year after this.
Yeah.
So something was happening that year. Maybe it was even. Could it be something simple as just even seeing him on WCW television? Maybe somebody convinced him it was the right thing to do.
No, I think he's a terrible human being, and I think he just decided to turn on him.
It's just strange that he could go.
But there's a story in the J.J. Dillon book that I'll tell you another time on another show that it's similar in nature and in terms of the vicious, vindictive nature of Vince McMahon. He's just a dreadful person.
Okay.
The 1, 2, 3 kid comes out to do the King's Court with Jerry the King Lawler. He's not very good on the mic, so Backlund tries to blindside him within a few seconds, but he ducks and does a little spin kick. Backlund bails. All the Hurts come out. We kind of have schmoz and everything's broken up. Doink versus Pat Tanaka. And I was like, is this the Pat Tanaka? And sure enough it was. Of the Orient Express.
Wait, hold on one sec. The segment with Kid and Backlund, that's not the one where Brett and him get into it, is it?
That's at the end of the match with
okay,
Kid.
cool. Never mind.
Doink.
Pat Tanaka is also very famous for having Goldberg's music in WCW before Goldberg did.
Did he?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't seem like a good fit. Doink comes out with Dink, Wink, and Pink. Pat Tanaka comes out in his pajamas and a pair of $15 Asics.
I really want to talk about Pat Tanaka.
He takes a joint flip bump off a clothesline. I love the original Doink. I didn't like this version at all.
Awful.
He wins with the whoop.
Who was it again? Who was this Doink?
This would have been not Ray. Was Ray Apollo? No, this would have been Brooklyn Brawler.
It's not.
Isn't it?
It's the other guy.
Ray Apollo.
Is that Ray Apollo?
But who was the original then?
It was Matt Bourne.
Yeah,
No,
Ray Apollo.
Can I say something about Pat Tanaka?
No.
Watching Pat Tanaka and his martial arts expertise made me realize something about professional wrestling. That since the rise of mixed martial arts and cage fighting, nobody has been able to do the pro wrestling martial arts gimmick.
No, it's very true.
It's
actually.
gone.
Yeah, it is gone.
Haku had to change his offense in the late 90s.
Yeah.
Pat Tanaka, Jerry Flynn. Remember him?
We're never to mention that name on this podcast.
Man, it's a legitimate wrestling gimmick that can't be brought back. It's incredible. The
true.
karate gimmick, it's gone.
I've noticed there hasn't been any Nazis in wrestling of late either.
What?
I've noticed there haven't been any Nazis in wrestling of late
When
either.
was the last one? Fritz?
Dennis Seaver. Okay. They advertise the hotline where you can ring and you can vote whether the chicken wing or the sharpshooter is more effective.
You had the opportunity to do this if you wanted.
What?
This was an opportunity they were giving
In
you.
order to do this, you only have to pay $1 per minute for this right to vote. 1994, ladies and gentlemen.
Is Ross in the company here? Is this one of Ross's sabbaticals?
He'd be on sabbatical.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay.
The King's Midgets come out for a skit and tomfoolery ensues. And then we go to Bret Hart doing the worst 45-second promo of all times, blowing 3 separate lines.
It's
this is the new
do you actually have it? Do you have it there?
I don't have it here.
Oh, okay, never mind. It's go ahead, Ken. It's amazing.
Yeah, he only has he has 40 seconds, and it's about how he will be behind the 1, 2, 3 kid representing the new generation against Bob Backlund, the old generation, and somehow in the space of a minute he manages to blow his lines twice. Okay, the following week, Raw, November 14th, 1994. This did open with a Bob Backlund 1, 2, 3 kid match. However, for whatever reason, the first 10 minutes of that is missing from the version uploaded to the network. So we came on board to see Raw opening with Bob Backlund having the chicken wing on the 1, 2, 3 kid and refusing to let it out.
Yeah, Renee Goulet and Pat and the lads are already in the ring, and there's a really, really funny moment. I don't know if you picked up on this, where Backlund is being restrained after he breaks free, after the kid gets broken free from the hold, and Backlund's like literally doing like kind of almost a shoot test of strength with Jared Briscoe.
I didn't notice that.
And Briscoe's kind of smiling at him. Is he going, don't fucking try this shit, Bob. It is immense.
I must go back and look for that. Brett makes the save, puts the sharpshooter on him in the aisleway, but lets him out immediately and then says...
No, hold on, Bob. No, hold on. Bob got him in the chicken wing first on the outside ring. And then Bob cut... I meant to write this down. The verbiage that Backlund says is like, I was tricidious towards you, letting go of that hold, Brett. Tricidious, Ken.
I see. And then Brett gets the sharpshooter on him in the aisleway, and then he grabs the mic and says, in the Survivor Series... He will never let Bob Backlund out of the sharpshooter.
Yeah, their verbiage was very, very different. Definitely not written by the same pen, unlike today.
No. There's a bad New Generation advertisement featuring a woman beating up several men and explaining she only knew how to do this from watching Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, this is definitely the precursor to Don't Try This at Home, and it had quite a different flavour. Yeah. It's terribly acted, and it's just kind of like... it's hard, Ken, to think, that even in '94 this was like a cool lad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is kind of strange.
I don't know if it was.
No, that's the thing. It probably wasn't, because this is when they weren't finger on the pulse,
Okay.
Men in a Mission come out. It's Mabel against the Blue Phantom, who would have another life as a different pro wrestler and eventually another life as a porn star. Do you know who played the Blue Phantom, Neil?
No, who's the Blue Phantom?
Blue Phantom, who was wearing all black, was Gangrel, and he wore...
You can't be serious.
Yeah, he was billed as the Black Phantom about 7 or 8 times on Raw, and then he came out this week as the Blue Phantom, still wearing all black. He jobs to Mabel in 2 minutes.
Mabel came out with
Survivor Series report, and I've noticed here Chuck Norris promo, so I think you had your
there we
Chuck
go.
Norris promos confused.
No, he did 2. He did one he did the first 2 weeks. Can I say something about Mabel?
Yeah.
This was at the time of the act where Mo was surplus to requirements. For the most part.
It's King Mabel and Sir Mo.
Yeah.
Do you ever think of it as King Mo and Sir Mabel because of King Mo? I always get the confused.
That's pretty good. And obviously Mo came back, but this was just Oscar and Mabel was doing a little bit of rapping as well for once, which I don't remember. I thought it was only Oscar.
I remember this well. You have to remember, this is when I was like, this is my hardcore wrestling fandom beginning, and the shame I had watching these shows back. Jeff Jarrett comes out wrestling a jobber with an incredible mullet. His name is Gary Sabom. This is the guy who got the Hardys their jobs in the WWF as jobbers, which is why they're on the show doing jobs later on.
That's correct.
Jarrett wins with a figure 4 in about 2 minutes. At this point, I was starting to get seriously. I was like, Jesus Christ! I really thought this stuff was great. But I was only watching Mania at the time. I wasn't seeing Raw, so
there you go.
I was just getting the recap.
Me
so
too.
I wasn't watching so much.
Me too. Yeah, I don't even remember that Jarrett match, so I think we were both kind of getting hit at the same time.
Okay, so Owen comes out for the King's Court, and he promises Bob Backlund that he will not throw the towel in.
Yeah.
Jerry Lawler then invites the Bulldog to the ring with dog calls.
Bulldog is just typical Bulldog here in the 90s.
He really is. He comes out to Rule Britannia and fireworks, and Vince... where am I here? Oh yeah, Davey Boy is wearing a phenomenal spandex shirt here.
He is.
The kind that's synonymous for wrestlers who are losing their mass after getting off steroids, like Randy Savage and Rey Mysterio later on. Owen tells Davey Boy to let Brett suffer in the chicken wing before inevitably throwing in the towel. Davey grunts back that he will not throw in Brett. Hot pink and black toe. What's a toe? He calls it Bret Hart, and he says it's pink and black toe. I will not throw in the toe. Then they play Davey's music, but Owen keeps talking because I guess they just wanted to cut off the Bulldog in his toll speech.
Yeah, no, he kept going. He kept saying, and I will not... Bret Hart at the Survivor Series will not lose because he is gonna put on the sharpshooter, Bret Hart. He just
Owen says something and
it's incredible. It's just Davey being Davey. What can I say?
There is a hole in my notes here, but I luckily I remember what this was. We have Aldo Montoya
making his debut.
Yes, and he wins a match, right?
He comes out and is King in the ring with him?
I don't know, because all I've got is... I guess I missed the line.
I think King is...
after the match, I'm pretty sure... No! Yeah, you know what it is? There is a match, and we didn't see the match because of what's missing on the tape.
Yes.
So, he does have a match, a job match, and And he wins, and Ted DiBiase shows up at ringside, and he offers him a stack of bills and offers him a membership in his corporations, saying, "Take this offer, kid. This is your chance for the high life. Limousine rides, tailored suits, and presumably diamond-studded jock straps on his face." Aldo then speaks English in a fairly clear American accent, despite the fact that he's the Portuguese man of war.
Yeah.
And he says, "Take that money and shove it in your ear."
He does. No, first he says something in Portuguese. And then he comes back and then just says, "Take that money and shove it in your ear."
Yeah.
This is true. The amazing thing about this Raw, now that you've
The amazing thing
informed
about
me.
this Raw is that we're missing one segment. Do you know what the last segment is, Neil?
Yeah.
Vince cuts to Alundra Blaze,
Oh,
who
God.
appears to be on the way home from a funeral. Says about 6 words building up her match with Bull Nakano in Japan. And that is how Raw goes off the air.
She was dressed as a strawberry. And it was quite incredible. I just can't believe that this Raw was, now you've informed me, is filmed in front of the same audience.
3 weeks in a row.
And legitimately, 25% of the roster is there, and the other 75% is somewhere else. Because
Probably,
nobody's on the show.
No.
It's the same people over and over
No
again.
sign of... It's quite strange. I think they booked all these shows and they didn't have Taker or Yokozuna. They had presences in the reports, the Survivor Series reports, which I'm going into a little bit more detail on.
They've got no body from the $1 Million Corporation even there.
Well, it's Bigelow, didn't they?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so we come to our last Raw. The show opens with, it's November 21st, 1984. Show opens with Razor Ramon coming out for a match with Diesel. Shawn Diesel, along with the rest of the creatively titled Teamsters, jump him in the aisle, and the match might be off. Now, which is a lamer team name?
Yeah.
Team Cena, Team Authority, or Team Stirs?
Teamsters.
Is it like Team Stirs a drink, or...?
I don't understand what a Teamster is.
I'm not sure.
It could be an Americanism that has actually probably been extinct in the last 15 years, but I don't know what a Teamster is.
The following match was Tatanka in his squash match, and the funny thing is, I wrote Tatanka v. A Jobber, as in like A capital space J capital OBBER, thinking this is just the most generic jobber I've ever seen. And within seconds, I realized this jobber happened to be Chris Kanyon of WCW fame.
That's absolutely correct.
Kanyon is wearing black short pants with a purple one-sleeve vest. I'm not entirely sure what he's going for here.
Mm-hmm.
He bumps really well for Tatanka, which maybe I just noticed because it was Chris Kanyon, but he does well here.
Yeah.
He makes a comeback with a high cross before trying for a pin with a crucifix, then again for a sunset flip. This match was just fantastic. Tatanka being one of the all-time great workers gets at least 4 stars. I'm joking. Tatanka gets the Samoan drop, which he called the end of the trail for the finish.
Yeah. He wasn't really dressed as a corporate sellout, though, was he? He was still in his Indian stuff.
Still in his Indian gear, yeah. He could have had like dollar bills on it or something.
Just one would do.
Do you know what was always a quick win that I thought they should have done that they didn't do?
What?
Sweet Jesus. They should have changed the 1-2-3 kid to the $1 Million Kid. Because he was always changing his name anyway.
That just makes perfect sense, really.
Absolutely perfect. Okay, Adam Bomb versus Jason Arndt. If you were a wrestling fan in 1994, Jason Arndt was a very regular and familiar jobber. Adam Bomb, who I didn't think was, I liked when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I liked the colours, I liked the gimmick.
Yeah.
He's terrible in the ring.
He's terrible. Let me tell you something.
He's as bad as he was when he was Black Blood or whatever in WCW.
Wrath?
No.
Oh,
before.
Yeah. Yeah, when he's so much bigger in the late 90s when he's Wrath.
Stalker, wasn't he?
He's a nice sorry, yeah. But when he's Wrath, he's so much bigger. I always thought of him
yeah,
as
he's like a different human being. Because he took off his single after this and he was, I don't want to say flabby, but he was soft. He was like Stephen Bonner.
He was definitely soft. The funniest thing was the third Raw had James E. Cornette on commentary with Vince, and James so hammy.
This is
so
third Raw.
So funny, yeah. And during Adam Bomb's entrance, he had this little pyro gimmick where he'd stand in the middle of the ring and the lights were blacked out. And it was, I don't know how they did it, it was very cool, kind of. They had a mushroom cloud pyro of smoke, and Cornette goes, "His head's exploded!" This is absolutely incredible.
The match wasn't much. Corny and Vince are talking about Backlund doing a George Foreman at the Survivor Series, which, for those who don't know the backstory here, George Foreman had just won the World Championship in boxing at the same age as Backlund, which was 45.
That's right.
And I don't know if people know this, but the original plan was to bring back Backlund in late 92 and make him a babyface world champion.
Yeah.
With that game, which, knowing Vince McMahon, can you fathom he thought about putting the championship on Bob fucking Backlund as a babyface
In
and give him
92.
a run in like 92, 93.
How could you go from
Backlund
Flair, Savage, Hogan
Hogan.
to Backlund?
doesn't make sense. Backlund, I mean, you know, people say Backlund gave in J.J. Dillon's book. He talks about this. Backlund's championship reign gave legitimacy to the championship and the company where, you know, people like superstar Billy Graham or Bruno Sammartino were there to draw the houses. So while he may not have been a great draw, he served a purpose. But I mean,
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought he was terrible. I always thought he was terrible.
Yeah.
Corny on the commentary has to plug the USA Network's Apes All Day, a Planet of the Apes marathon.
That's right.
Which he does with such fervor. I admired this, even though it was ridiculous. Adam Bomb gets the win with a pump handle power slam. They show a plug for the WWF Raw video game. The graphics are probably marginally better than the 2K15 one we just released.
Now hold on, they by no means show a clip. They pretend to be playing against each other.
Yeah, and the thing is that in this video of them playing it, I think it's Bret Hart and The Undertaker, and the person controlling Bret Hart, or not Bret Hart, The Undertaker goes to run off the rope, and the Bret Hart character is standing next to the Undertaker character, so he hits the Bret Hart character, who flies over the ropes and into the guardrails.
That's right.
Well, the Undertaker just bounces back and forth on the ropes, and I was like, I'm not sure if this is the segment you really want to show.
They also had somebody's health completely at zero, so they could pin him at will.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was also an edited clip of the match. Well, they were both going,
Yeah.
what button are you pressing, Vince?
This was the game. This was one of the first wrestling video games I had, and I thought it was fantastic fun at the time. But
yeah.
not so much now. We have a recap of the Doink Jerry Lawler feud. This involved trash cans, a broken tricycle, a pie, a full-on cream pie on Jerry Lawler's ass, and 6 midgets. Even at the tender age of 10, watching this, I remember thinking, like, sweet Jesus.
So what segment was this?
This is the recap.
Oh, the
of
recap,
the
yeah.
Lawler Doink stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So then Lawler's in the ring with his team to build up a match, and the Dink, Wink, and Pink are under the ring apron, and they keep spraying water guns into the ring, and Lawler is so dense, he thinks it's his own team who are standing beside him.
Yeah.
Eventually, all 4 Doinks start spraying their super soakers at Jerry Lawler, and this is supposed to build up a pay-per-view match. Seriously.
When they're initially doing it, so one sneaks out from like one side of the ring and sprays him, and then ducks under, and then they keep doing this, and Lawler keeps turning different ways. Vince starts whispering in case Lawler hears it, and Cornette says, "You're calling it like we're at the Ryder Cup," which is incredible.
Okay, then we have an IRS segment where he digs up a dead body because they owe unpaid taxes, which, people talk about the hokiness of wrestling in the 90s in such a bad way, and I have such a soft spot for it, but sweet fucking Jesus, this was stupid. I'd forgotten this.
Like, I have a soft spot for, 87 through 91. Not this stuff. This stuff was just, like, when Vince was kind of
this,
like...
by the way, this
I'm
was
the
actually to
madman.
build up a pay-per-view match at the Royal Rumble 1995. They did 2 months of these. Okay, IRS versus Matt Hardy. Some very famous jobbers on the show. Matt, I thought...
With a crew cut?
Yes, with the crew cut.
Looked pretty big for... must have been about 17 or 18.
He was 18, yeah. He was 18 at the stage. Bad match. Hard to do much at Mike Rotunda. IRS wins with the flying clothesline tackle kind of thing. And I have to wonder, was this his finish? Because I don't remember him having a finish.
Yeah, I think it was.
Okay, so then we had like a 10-minute Survivor Series report. Now, I haven't gone into detail on these because, how much do people really want to hear about Todd Pettengill cutting promos? But the first thing Pettengill says is, this isn't another wrestling pay-per-view, Vince being a cunt 20 years ago. This was very, very long. Pettengill introduced little promos for all... I'm serious. It was just like, seriously, Vince. Vince is back there. I want you to hammer the wrestling thing, kid. It's wrestling. But anyway, so this was very long, and having watched 2 shows full of these, I wasn't enamored with it, but it was right before the main event, and it let you know that the Survivor Series is this Sunday. This is all of the matches on it. Here is why they're important. You need to buy this show. And I just thought, I'm not asking you to do, I don't think you could throw to Stamford for 10 minutes like
sure,
you did then.
you can do it in this format.
But you could do 5 or 10 minutes building up matches. I think video packages as well would help. And I just thought, it's stuff like this is missing. Because I remember in those days, you watch this and you'd be like, okay, I'm setting. And this is what Vince was always the king of, was hammering something.
Sure.
And now he's lost that art.
It's not that he's lost that art. I think he's lost the guide to do it, because Cole is too tainted to be able to hammer it in any kind of genuine way.
Yeah, but what I mean is he's lost the art because he doesn't. All he ever hammers is like. Remember, in 2011 they hammered Twitter. Now they hammer 9.99. They don't hammer. This is why this match is important.
Okay. Well, yeah. No. Look, they've got a lot more things to plug now. Their priorities aren't straight and forward ahead. Do you remember? I got my timeline wrong. It was sometime between 2009 2011. They had like about 3 or 4 pay-per-views in a row where the Go Home show. They'd have Cole
the
and
in the ring.
Yeah.
I don't know when that was. I think it may have been earlier than that. But I do very
was it
remember that.
Ross?
Yeah, I feel like it was. I feel maybe 2007, 2008. But yeah, I do. They had the two of them in the ring just before the Go Home angle of Raw.
Yeah.
And they would just run down the matches. I don't think it was as effective as this, but something like that would be fine. Yeah.
I think in this day and age it would actually be okay, because that format couldn't work now, as you said.
The main event of the show was Diesel against Razor Ramon, which was originally going to be the opener. They went 12 minutes. The match was okay. But much like in 2014, you knew that we weren't getting a finish because we had the Teamsters and the Bad Guys, who were Diesel and Razor's respective Survivor Series teams, on the floor. They all ran in, and we got a big schmoz and a DQ, no contest finish rather. And I couldn't help but think to myself, this is the last Raw. This is Monday. Survivor Series was Wednesday this year, so 48 hours for Survivor Series, and we did not. Aside from, in pre-packaged videos, we didn't see Bret Hart, we didn't see Bob Backlund, we didn't see Yokozuna or Undertaker on this specific Raw. I just, it just seems so alien to me.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Obviously, not having Undertaker there for the tapings is one issue, but they could have held the Backlund Bret angle off till the last one.
Exactly, yeah.
But this could be a very clear example of the Click's influence, Ken. Like they're the last segment in the Go Home Raw, the 3 of them. Possibly,
actually, yeah. So looking back, how pumped are you for Survivor Series 94? Well, actually, let me ask you another question. This is a better question. Are you more excited to watch Survivor Series 1994 or 2014?
You see, I have to go with this year, because I've seen
the big guy.
I've seen it before.
Okay.
And I've actually.
I actually be right in the middle.
I've seen that Bret match quite a few times. The Bret and.
I actually remember it being a good match.
It's their best match.
Well, then we had 2.
Yeah, it's not great. And there's a spot at the end. I think the ref's out for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, when he hits. Yeah. And no, remember Davey's out for like 10 minutes. Anyway.
Davey, yeah. Sorry, I knew someone's out for an inordinate amount of time. And I don't remember anything on the show being good.
No, I remember the casket match being disappointing, because I remember enjoying the Royal Rumble one, which I still to this day, I go back and watch that match. I loved that shit.
Yeah. What was it? Was that Royal Rumble 94?
That was the one with Undertaker raising to heaven. Yeah. And Murphy
and
Jannetty goes up above.
Is this the rematch then?
Yes.
So Taker came back at SummerSlam against Taker.
Yeah.
And now he's getting revenge on Yoko. Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, either way, it's going to be great to watch 2 Survivor Series 20 years apart, because the thing about the reviewing TV is it's kind of, as you know yourself from making those notes, it's hard because there's almost more to talk about, because there's angles and stuff. Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting to put them against each other. That we can definitely do.
Yes.
It's be similar amount of matches.
Yeah. Now, one thing I would like to say is I have been fairly high on a lot of the WCW that I've watched from the 90s.
Yes.
I really didn't enjoy any of these Raws a whole lot. There weren't even bits of it that I really thought. I think it was really hurt by the fact that there was 1,200 people there and they're in this tiny little building. It really felt depressing. It felt like TNA has felt in the last year.
As I always talk about, when I was watching the 96 ones back to back, there was no competition. Which was better.
But the thing is, I'm also watching. I've been watching the first Nitro. So I'm on Nitro 13.
Yes,
and I mean, it just felt so.
Sorry, Ken. I'm agreeing. What I mean is, I've been watching the 96 Raw Nitros when I was watching them back to back. Like the Nitros blew it away. It was definitely, there was a reason the tide switched.
Yeah, there really was.
There was.
So next week, Survivor Series 2014. The following week, Survivor Series 1994. So that gives you people 2 weeks to try and sit through a 9-minute chicken wing spot.
Yes.
And that casket match.
Before I let you go and let everybody else go, did you see Devitt's in-ring debut?
Yeah. I thought he looked good. Not good enough to stand out of the pack.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot of people were very high on it.
Okay, but my thing is, do I look at him and think that he is appreciably better than, say, TJ Wilson in any way? Not really. I mean, he's a very good worker.
Yeah.
He's got a decent look. He's got some charisma.
His physique is actually pretty astounding. It's almost
He's
packed.
got a physique, yeah, but it doesn't matter if you've a great physique and you're 5'7". I don't think it really counts.
He did look very small, didn't he? Sure.
Yeah, and my thing is, I've nothing against the guy. Do I ever see him in main events in WWE? No. Same with Kenta. So, I think he looked fine, but I just think he'll be a guy in the cards.
I certainly agree with you about Kenta.
Probably barely above the Seth Rollins level.
Well, we'll wait and see. But yeah, that's it. So we're going to wrap it up now. Thanks very much, Ken. And thanks for everybody for listening. We'll be on Dublin City FM at 4 o'clock this coming Sunday to talk all the news in MMA. And you can get archives of This Ain't Fake and the MMA show up at thisaintfake.com. Until next week, enjoy Survivor Series and we'll talk to you soon.